Welcome to the Sea Files, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Um, I want to give you some optimism in this video. I know some folks have been panicking because of all the market reports and everything, and all of the, oh, tariffs are causing this and causing that, and it's going to be a total disaster, and you're going to lose everything, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, all the nonsense that's being put out by the mainstream propaganda media. It's all false, folks. It's not true. But they're trying really hard to demonize, the economic strategy of the Trump administration. They're going to fail because it seems to me that the American people are not paying attention to them. But I do see some panic by some people. Look, don't panic. No need to panic. Some of you panicked. Don't panic. Everything is fine. You know, everybody lost money, okay? But anybody who's in the stock market lost some money, okay? Severely? Was it severe? No, it was mild. Wasn't that bad. And it's going to recover. It's going to rally. It's going to it's hitting bottom and it's going to rise back up again, and people are going to make money. And so, all of the doom and gloom and stuff that the news media is putting out. I mean, some of you folks, why do you watch them? Why do you even pay attention to them any longer? All they do is lie to you. All they do is lie and try to stir up fear. That's all they have left is try to stir up fear and get people to react on fear. And when you react on fear, you're going to make the wrong decision, right? So, salespeople use this all the time. They're selling you a car. Well, I don't think it's going to be here tomorrow. We have other buyers looking at this car. You might want to get it now. What are they doing? They're stoking fear. The fear that this car that you're really liking right now, that somebody's going to snatch it right out from under you if you don't buy it right now. You're going to lose out if you don't buy now. Um, I mean, that sells by fear, and then there's trying to push governmental policy by fear. There's trying to manipulate and control society by fear. There's a book back here called The United States of Fear, and it talked about how fear was used by the government and the news media to manipulate and control society during the pandemic. And it caused people to make really, really poor decisions. And now we're facing the repercussions of those decisions and of that fear. I was just reading in the local paper today, they're trying to hype up the measles. And the North Carolina Health Department is urging people to take steps to defend against the measles. We don't have a case. There's no cases of measles in North Carolina yet, but let's give you a little bit of fear that this could be a horrible, horrible pandemic that's coming on the horizon, so that we can manipulate you and get you to do what we want you to do. And usually that's taking some kind of pharmaceutical, usually in the form of a needle, um, to prevent this horrible, possible pandemic that could come because of measles. Um, I had measles when I was a kid. They didn't have shots for it back then. Um, I'm still here. Matter of fact, pretty much most of the people that, well, I would say 99% of the people that, over 99% of the people that I knew that got measles, all of them that I knew that got measles, all of my friends, they lived, they grew up and lived a good life, or well, a longer life. right? Some passed away from other things, but the point is, measles didn't get them. Okay, there wasn't all of that fear and pandemonium back then. Matter of fact, they'd have, measles and mumps. They'd try to get their kids to get the measles because, best to get it and get it over with and go on with life. And it wasn't a big panic back then. Everything's a panic now. Everything is fear driven now. Well, if everything you do is from the motivation of fear, you're just going to go from one bad decision to the next bad decision to the next bad decision because it's going to be based upon irrational fear, based in lies and falsehood. So beware of that push, because it's a manipulation technique used to try to get people to do what you want them to do. And this is what is done governmentally. When a government wants to control society to go a certain direction, they stoke fear to get that result. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, which got us into Vietnam, right? The you know, the existence of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that got us into that war. I mean, can we go down the list of things that the fear mongering that's been used a lot, which turned out to be lies, but they were used to get society to act in a certain way and to go in a certain direction or to support the government in something they wanted. Um, don't People are not buying into it anymore. People are getting smarter about this because we've suffered the consequences of that kind of stuff for way, way too long. Now they want to stir fear when it comes to tariffs. That's the big boogeyman now, right? Tariffs and I guess the measles. Apparently. Um, but tariffs, we know that they're trying to stoke fear when it comes to tariffs. And just remember, how many times have they lied to you in the past concerning things of that nature? Reciprocal tariffs are not a bad thing. They are making us money. They are working. Countries all over the world are wanting to negotiate with Trump now and make good deals with Trump. Corporations are saying, we don't want to be international anymore. We want to come back and be domestic in the United States because we don't want to have to pay those tariffs. Um, it's interesting when Japan and China and Vietnam and the European Union and other places were hitting tariffs, extremely high tariffs. I mean, Japan's been hitting us with extremely high tariffs since the 1980s. Crickets. Nobody screamed and yelled that it's going to be the end of society. Nobody screamed and yelled that, it's going to destroy the countries. Nobody in Japan was screaming and yelling saying, "Oh, you put tariffs on the United States, it's going to ruin Japan." No, they were rejoicing because they were making money hand over foot. Who was being hurt? Us. We were paying the tariffs. Well, all we're doing is saying, you know what? You charge us, we're going to charge you. Wow. You would think that would be like business 101 when it comes to economics, right? Oh, if they're charging us to ship our goods over there, well, then okay, but we'll just charge them to ship their goods over here. We'll get our money back that way. But no, what do we do? Oh, well, let's raise taxes. Well, really dumb because if if you have an economy where you're a consumer economy, and we are a consumer economy because they make the goods over there, we consume them over here. We're the biggest consumer in the world. and you're taxing your people more and more to avoid doing tariffs on those guys, you're taking away the consumer's ability to be a consumer because you're taxing them so heavily that what excess money do they have? What money do they have left after taxation and trying to do the basic living standards to take care of their family? What do they have left to do much consuming? And you continue to bury them under more and more and more taxes until you've completely killed your consumer um, society. You've completely killed the ability of your citizens to continue to buy the goods and services that you're having shipped over here. I mean, the complaint right now of the younger generation, and they have a legitimate complaint, is that they don't think they'll ever be able to get into a house because of the price of housing, the heavy taxation. You can go down the list. Well, what's happening is all of that's being reset the way Trump is doing things. And you say, well, why would Trump put a tariff on a place where there's only bears or penguins and there's no people? That's to shore up a loophole. Now, the unsophisticated, and I'm not that sophisticated, folks. The unsophisticated reporters don't get it. They can't seem to get the concept that these other countries will say, "Oh, well, that's not coming from us. That's coming from the land of the penguins." That place, yeah, that's where it's come from, and so therefore, uh, you know, you can't charge us the tariff. You can't charge this tariff because they'll ship it there at some warehouse they build or something on that desolate land that nobody lives in, and then they'll ship it to the United States and they'll say, "Oh no, that didn't come from that came from over there, not from here." It's a loophole. So that therefore your tariff doesn't we don't have to pay your tariff because that came from a place that you're not tariffing. So what did Trump do to shore up the loophole? Just tariff everything. Even if it don't have people on it, tariff it. Put a tariff on it so that they can't play the loophole game and get out of it. So, right? Okay. So what about the stock market going down? Stock market going down. Oh, he's killing the stock market. China is the reason for that. Think about it, folks. China wants to call our our debt. I mean, a lot of our trade debt, China owns it. Why do we have trade debt? Because we're paying tariffs to everyone else. They're not paying tariffs to us. So we have a trade deficit. We have trade debt. It's not evened out, and it's hurting our economy. So China says, "Oh, you want to put a 35% or whatever it was uh, trade deficit on or tariff on us? Fine, we're calling the debt." Trump says, "Fine, stock market's going to go down." He knew that the globalist corporations were going to react and it was going to cause a dip in the stock market. He said that. He said, "We're going to suffer for a little bit on this. Stock market's going to take a hit. I don't care about stock market right now. He's looking further down the road. It'll recover." But so China decides to call our debt and they're getting pennies on the dollar because market goes down. Um, China still doesn't win that game. You see, he's playing 3D chess. So a lot of people say 3D chess. I think 4D chess. I mean, he's looking at the big picture. And he's saying, "Okay, China, you want to play this game? Fine. We'll go ahead and just take a dip in our own stock market, and then I'll pay you pennies on the dollar." Kind of like what you do when you're negotiating with creditors. Well, look, I owe you 20,000. Okay, I'll pay you. 8,000. That's the best I can do. 8,000, we'll call it even. A lot of times they'll take that deal because they'll get something out of you. Um, China had no, I mean, if they're going to call the debt, then they're going to I mean, they're not going to get what they think they want to get with that situation. See, Trump's playing, he's juggling a lot. He's got it, he can't just look at, oh, the price of eggs. Everybody made a big deal out of that. He's got to look at the whole picture globally and how it affects all of the economies. That's what we're looking at. So, now, by the way, the eggs have gone down, food's gone down, gas has gone down. You been to the gas pump lately? So, where's the complaints? Things are getting cheaper. Well, some goods go up in price, yes, because they'll be made domestically. They'll be made with labor that's getting good wages. So they'll have to charge more for the product. But guess what? The product won't be. It won't be cheap made Chinese goods that'll break 2 days after you get them home. These will be high quality goods that will last a long time. So you're paying for quality. You're paying for fellow Americans to be able to feed their families and buy a home. But if we're funding the government from tariffs, reasonable tariffs, not overly overabundant, but reasonable tariffs, more reasonable than what we have been charged by countries all over the world, um, and they're being funded, and the tax burden is heavily lifted off of us. Guess what? You've got more money to be a good consumer and buy those products. And as we consume products, we're helping the economy. So it's a win-win situation. And we're not devastating other countries. They're going to act in their best interest. They're going to figure it out and say, okay, this is the best deal we can get. And they'll make that deal. So don't fear. Be optimistic. I think we have a bright future in front of us. I think we'll be fine. We're going to, like us, anytime you have a patient that's been hurt and they've gone through operation and they have to heal up, they got to go through physical therapy and all of that. It's painful. It's a painful process, but that painful process is yielding good results. We're going through a painful process that's going to yield good results. And the road we were heading down was a road to total disaster. We were going to, I mean, the 2030 agenda would have been implemented and it would have been horrible. But we've saved ourselves off of that one. Let me take a look at what some of the things that we have here. See if I can do this without copyright issues. This is from Steve Bannon. I'll just read you some of the things that we have going on. Now, usually I'm in scripture talking about the Bible and everything, and I do that. And just a reminder that Christ said that what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? All of this economic talk, all of this attempts at prosperity means nothing if you lose your own soul and spend eternity wallowing in your sin in a fiery hell. Jesus Christ is the only solution to that. So don't forget that the soul and eternity is the most important thing, not the temporal things of this life. All right. So Steve Bannon says this. Let me repeat this. The people getting hammered are the people financially tied to shipping all the jobs to China. For those that ever question President Trump being a populist and economic nationalist, I hope the last 4 or 5 days have shown that President Trump is dug in on your side, the forgotten man and woman. He has put a full shotgun blast onto the Chinese Communist Party, full on 54% tariffs. They can't exist. It's not sustainable. They will collapse. And the CCP collapsing is a good thing for China. China needs the CCP to collapse, and they need a government that's going to be more responsive and better for the people of China. And so that would be nice to see if that ever happened. Um, so there was a woman here. Uh, she was a paid protester, and people were saying that protesters were not being paid, the organizers were being paid on these protests that occurred just a few days back. That's false because this woman admits that she was a paid protester. Um, and it's too long to play her actual thing. If you want to go to my page, Jeff Claiborne on X, you can watch her talk. But she details what she had to do to get paid. They told her not to wear anything MAGA, and she could not wear red. Of course, red was that color of MAGA. So she wore a black shirt and jeans. They also told her she would get paid if she brought a sign, so there's more for having a sign. Again, nothing MAGA. So she brought a everyone deserves an education sign. They told her she had to march around at the end in order to get paid. She had to answer an eight-question questionnaire. She said the questions did have right and wrong answers, and if you wanted to get paid, you had to answer them correctly from a liberal mindset. So that was posted on X. So Le Pen, the former leader of France, leads thousands of patriots in singing the national anthem. And she's being targeted by the globalists and she's fighting back. So, all over the world, the globalists are trying to destroy anyone who has a nationalist um, idea, a nationalist tendency to reign under the concept that nations have borders and globalists are not good for the nation. They tried to demonize them. They tried to use lawfare against them. They tried to take them through the courts, and because they own parts of the courts, and use that to try and destroy these candidates, like they've been trying to do to Trump, and what they would try to do to you and me if Trump wasn't in their way. Um, but she's fighting back, and the fact that people all over the world are fighting back, that's a great thing. So here's a gentleman talking. I'll let you listen to him. He's not very long. And let me see if I can get this on. Okay, here we go.
2 days ago, General Motors Corporation announced that they were expanding vehicle production in the United States, in the state of Indiana, for the first time in about 25 years. Yesterday, the jobs report came out saying that 228,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy, more than all economists had predicted, which was about half of that amount. Finally, someone is taking care of business. The U.S. government is reducing spending, and here we have in downtown Philadelphia, the people are protesting. They want less jobs, they want less production in American plants, and apparently they want more government spending. And that's the way the world is. See you next time.
That was X, but that guy was on TikTok. I just saw I have it on Facebook. Of course, you know, X, Facebook, you want to verify these things. But apparently Stellantis is and says set up professional audio settings, go away. I hate those things popping up. Go away. Okay, there we go. It just distracts me. All right, now Stellantis, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, and Ram. There's a in Edmonton, Indiana, I think, or it's up north. They're opening up a plant and they're rebuilding the Hemi, the 5.7, the 6.4, the 6.2 supercharged Hemi, the Hellcat engine. Um, they're going to build those and put them in their cars again. So things are reversing because the CAFE standards were pushed back. That's the high mileage standards where you had to have so many, the mileage was so high they couldn't. They're putting these small four cylinders with big turbos on them to try to meet the high mileage standard in big vehicles, and it was causing problems with the engines because it was just too much on a small engine. You need a bigger engine. That's gone. So they're going to be able to build good, strong V6s, the V8s. They're going to be able to put the bigger engines into the bigger vehicles. And of course, there's the muscle car that will last longer. And so some of the emission standards are being rolled back. Not to the point of where you're getting rid of catalytic converters or anything like that, but rolled back enough to where things aren't breaking all the time on the engines because there's so much sophistication built into them, so many modules and everything that the more you put on a car, the more that can go wrong. And so to simplify the cars a little bit more, and they'll be more dependable. So that'll be nice to see. Um, this is interesting. So this guy, older American, explains how the middle class was destroyed. And I'll just read this. Well, it's quite a bit, but I'll read it. You know what? I'll let him say it in his own words.
$2 an hour. A little fun fact. In 1978, I worked in a steel mill. I was getting paid between $16 and $18 an hour in a steel mill. Okay. My house payment was $125 a month. I was doing well. Then we started not taxing or not putting tariffs on China steel coming in from China and other countries. And they were supplementing their industry, and they took our steel industry away from us. Okay. And so I lost my job. They shut the mill down. And then I had to go figure it out. At the time, I was married with 3 kids. And this was in the 80s, early 80s. And I had to figure it out. I couldn't get a job that was going to pay sufficient to be able to survive. So I had to create my own businesses. And I've done that ever since. But it was the taking of the steel mills from this country and all these others that they've taken, the auto industry and everything else, that's killed our economy. Now you start making a fair playing field, is what Mr. Trump is doing, President Trump is doing, those jobs will come back. People will start making money. And you say, oh, well, now we're not going to get cheap products. No, we're not going to get cheap products. But all the money that we're paying those countries for those cheap products will stay in this country. And we will start manufacturing, and we will have those jobs that pay good again. You'll see. Just as I was just a little fun fact.
Okay, so we'll jump out of that.
I worked.
Okay, there we go. And we're seeing this with the industry coming in. We're seeing that start to happen. There's one more I wanted to do. I'm running out of time because I'm running up against a deadline here. If I can find this, if I can't, I won't concern myself with it, but I'm not finding it. There's a gentleman that really did a good job of explaining. Here it is. Now listen to what this gentleman has to say. He says, I'm not a pro-Trumper at all, but I believe in it. I'm a business owner. I know how it works. Trump's tariffs explained in simple terms. Americans business owners want this. Now listen to what this gentleman has to
$5
say.
goes to.
Here we go.
But if you want to know the part that they're not telling you about tariffs, here's the reality that nobody's talking about. Nobody. This lighter costs $25 in America to buy an American-made product. Okay. China makes one, sells it for $20 here in America. Out of that $20, $5 goes to whoever in America sells it, $15 of it goes back to China. You buy the $25 one in America, all $25 stays in America. So now we want to say, let's balance this out, and we're going to put a 50% tariff on Chinese goods. Now this lighter costs $30 to sell in the United States. Now you have the US made one at $25. It is cheaper. It's more expensive in the big picture. I get it. But it's now cheaper. So people are going to buy the American made one. 100% of the $25 that you spend stays in America, stays here. The demand increases for that business has to hire employees. When many businesses hire employees, that creates a supply shortage of employees, which make wages go up. Is this more expensive for the consumer in the short term? Yes, but you're getting a better product. You're getting a better product for your money, and the money is staying local. Okay, you're not funding these other countries and their businesses. That is the purpose behind all of this. Will we have a recession? Yes. Will prices go up in the short term? Yes. But the lagging effect is all of that money now stays here with us. It's not leaving the country, which gives us more money in the United States to go around for everybody. Of course, every nation in the world is going to say, we're being bad neighbors and bad business partners. Well, of course, we've made them rich. And now we as a people are suffering. We want our money back. Why is that so hard? It's not ideal, but it works and it makes sense. And I'm not a pro-Trumper at all, but I believe in it. I'm a business owner. I know how it works. Have a great day.
Trump gets through eating, and you've seen him do this.
No, let me. I hate
And
it.
so, man,
I hate it that it just automatically goes to the next video before I can even do anything. So now, I think I'll have more through the week. I'm up against a hard deadline. I've got to shut down and go take care of some things for family. So thanks for watching. I'll be back again here on the C Files with more. I will have more to say out of the scriptures as well. Because if I neglect the scriptures, I don't want to face the day I have to stand before the Lord and explain why I had this opportunity and never talked about the gospel and never talked about the scriptures. Um, I would never want to have to explain that. So remember, what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? You need to deal with the plague of evil called sin that permeates the soul of mankind first. And you can only do that by trusting in Christ because he's the only one that paid for your sins on the cross. He's the only one that ever resurrected from the dead. He's the only one that can save you from your sins. So trust in him. Trust in him. Not just a head knowledge. Trust in him in all things, including trusting in the providence and sovereignty of God when it comes to the things we talked about in this video, the economy, your ability to take care of your family. You see, God doesn't only take care of eternal matters, he also takes care of temporal matters. And our life here on this earth is temporal. So if you honor him, if you trust in Christ and you pray to God and you ask him for help, he will take care of your family. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. That's just another way of saying no one is richer than God. And he's able to provide for you when you trust in him. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on the C Files.